Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and a new week comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 3 MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. Now, we are coming off a really rough MLB opening weekend. We are 4-10 through 3 videos. Obviously very bad, but what we do here on the channel is we don't run from the losses. We don't hide from it. We acknowledge it because you know what? One day, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, we're going to get hot and we're going to get on the positive side. And when that happens, I can't be on here screaming and shouting and celebrating my win record if I don't acknowledge the fact that we had a pretty shitty start to the year. So 4-10 start, not the start we wanted. I did say early MLB player prop betting is very difficult. On my fault, I probably should have dialed back a little bit, not doing 5 player prop slates to start. Hence the reason why we only have 3 player props today, kind of, reeling it back in a little bit. But we're going to get there. Like I said, guys, the first week or two is very difficult because you don't really have a ton of data to go off of. It's all last year's numbers. So bear with us here. We are going to go ahead and turn this ship around. I promise you guys that, hopefully starting today. I have 3 player props coming your way right now. All right, guys, and our first player prop in today's slate comes from the Mets-Marlins game, 6:40 p.m. first pitch. We've got Juan Soto of the New York Mets over 1.5 total bases, which we are getting for plus 120 over on BetMGM. I will have the link down below in the pinned comment for the final plays for today. I don't think I'm going to put a full unit in this one. I might do 3/4 of a unit, maybe even half a unit. We'll see how I'm feeling, but we're not going to put a full unit on this one. It is a plus money play, but I do like the spot and the matchup here for Juan Soto. Now, overall this year, he's played 3 games. He's cashed the over in 2 of 3 games this year for the Mets, averaging 2.33 total bases per game this year. He's got a hit in all 3 games so far as a New York Met, which is pretty damn good. I mean, for all the money the Mets gave him, you'd hope that he could at least get, a couple singles here and there consistently. But he's been playing pretty well so far with the Mets. The Mets, however, 1 and 2 starts of the year. Sorry, Frank the Tank. Now, overall last year, he did cash at a 42% hit rate. This is obviously 1.5 total bases, a little bit of a higher line. 72 out of 171 games, including playoffs, he cashed this over. He did average 2.1 total bases per game last year, so not terrible numbers there. And from a head-to-head perspective, the sample size is a little bit on the smaller side, but he did play the Marlins 3 times last year as a member of the New York Yankees, and he did cash the over in 2 of those 3 games, averaging 3.33 total bases per game across those 3 matchups with the Marlins, including one really big game back on April 8th of last year where he had 6 total bases in that game. Now, looking down below at the key matchup stats here, Juan Soto last year obviously batted .288 overall. Pretty good numbers, obviously, overall. But then versus right-handed pitchers, his numbers actually took a little bit of a jump up. You do see a .293 batting average when facing right-handed pitchers. His BABIP jumped up to 317. His ISO, a minor increase to 285, and his extra base hit percentage, a minor increase to 46.6%. Now, in the matchup here versus Cal Quantrill, overall, not very good numbers for him last year. 4.98 ERA, 273 batting average allowed, 461 slugging. His numbers when facing left-handed batters do all drop, but even at the dropped lines, it's still not very good. 4.26 ERA, 268 batting average allowed, 457 slugging. The only one that gets a pretty significant drop is his ERA, 4.26, and even that, it's really not that bad for us. Bad for for Kyle Cantrell, I guess. But his extra base hit percentage ups from 35.3 to 41.3, which is good for us. Looking down below at the heat maps, overall the number of pitches. Look at Juan Soto. Versus some of his top pitches. Now, obviously, look at Quantrill. His number one, he likes to really go to the sinker and the splitter and the cutter. Not really a typical lineup for a pitcher. Doesn't really utilize the fastball all that much. Now, the one pitch I am concerned about is the splitter. You see Juan Soto, a 343 WOBA and a very high strikeout percentage when going up against the splitter. Looking at the sinker, for example, which is his number one pitch, pretty good numbers, say low 14% strikeout rate, 501 WOBA, so I'm not too concerned about that one. But clearly his numbers versus the splitter are not great. If we go ahead and look at the heat maps here, Juan Soto. He does have a couple red zones there in the middle of the strike zone, but not a great matchup in that regard. But I'm not too concerned there. Because the further you go along his pitch arsenal, like versus the cutter, 431 WOBA, 10.8% strikeout rate. Look at the heat maps down below versus the cutter. Some pretty good numbers. So the only pitch that really Juan Soto does not hit that great off of is the splitter. But his number one pitch, the sinker, which is 40% of his pitching arsenal. Juan Soto, not bad numbers overall versus the splitter. So I like this player prop a lot for plus 120 odds to plus money value. I think it's worth taking a look at. All right, guys, in our second player prop in today's slate, we're moving on to the Guardians-Padres game, 9:40 p.m. first pitch. We're going to Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians over 1.5 total bases. Another plus money play, plus 105 over on FanDuel. Again, this is another play where I probably don't throw a full unit on this one, but I will definitely play at least like half a unit, maybe 3/4 of a unit. Again, we're being a little cautious here after a really rough weekend where we lost a healthy amount of units. We're not looking to chase here. We're not looking to lose a lot more. So we're going to be a little cautious with how we deploy our units here for a couple of these plus money player props. Now, so far this year, 0 out of 2 games he's cashed the over. Both games versus the Royals, he failed to get a hit. Never mind 2 bases. Overall last year, though, not bad. 49% hit rate, just shy of half the time last year. He actually cashed this line, averaging 2.08 total bases per game last year. So a little bit of a slow start this year so far for Jose Ramirez, but overall last year, really not that bad for a plus money line. Now, the head-to-head data, not great. Again, like a lot of these player props, small sample size, just 3 matchups versus the Padres over the last year. He has cashed the over in one of the 3 back on July 19th. He did have 2 total bases, but in the 2 subsequent matchups, he failed to cash that over. It's plus money for a reason. Again, not a very good data range there, but I still am confident in the player prop. Now, the one downside or positive, you could look at it either way, is the fact that Kyle Hart of the Padres is an inexperienced pitcher. We have no data to go off of whatsoever. Now, obviously, that can benefit us from the fact that he is a green pitcher in the sense that he doesn't have a lot of experience. He didn't pitch at all last year, hasn't pitched yet this year. That could obviously go ahead and benefit us in a big way, but it also is difficult because we don't really know what he brings to the table. That being said, he's a left-handed pitcher, and Jose Ramirez last year raked off of left-handed pitchers. Overall last year, 279 batting average, obviously really good numbers, but 348 batting average when facing left-handed pitchers last year, 319 BABIP, 348 ISO, and a 50.9% extra base hit percentage. So Jose Ramirez raked off of left-handed pitchers last year, but obviously we don't have anything for heat maps. We don't know what kind of pitch arsenal he has because we have no data to go off of for Kyle Hart. Again, that could go either way for us. It could be a really good thing, could be a really bad thing. But I do think Jose Ramirez is a pretty good and solid matchup here when considering how he hits off of left-handed pitchers. I think, especially with an inexperienced pitcher like Kyle Hart, I think it's definitely worth throwing. Like I said, 3/4 of a unit, half a unit, something for plus money. Pretty good value. I'm hoping Jose Ramirez definitely has a good game today. By the way, guys, we're about to hit the 8-minute mark in today's video. So if you are still watching at this point, please comment 8 down below. As always, we appreciate those who watch through each and every single video. Even though we're off to a really bad start and a really cold streak to start the Major League Baseball season, I'm telling you guys, last year of all my sports, if you guys have watched Guy Boston Sports, NFL, I had a positive record. NBA, I have a positive record. The sport that I was the best on since joining the channel is baseball, believe it or not. We were crazy last year, cashing in like a 67% hit rate on our player props. Slow start this year, but a long season to go. Guys, do not lose the faith because I promise you guys, when we start getting some data pouring in from this year, we are going to get hot. And let's start turning the boat around today with a really solid day. Comment 8 down below. Let's go ahead. We got one player prop left to go through. And that player prop comes from the Tigers-Mariners game, 9:40 p.m. first pitch. We got Randy Arozarena of the Seattle Mariners under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, which we're getting for -125 over on DraftKings. Now, so far, Arozarena's played 4 games this year. He's cashed the under in 3 out of 4 games. Randy Arozarena did have a home run in the season opener for the Mariners against the Athletics. However, in the subsequent 3 games, he didn't really do much. He did have a hit a run on March 29th, but he has not recorded a hit since that season opener. And honestly, this was an under that he cashed pretty consistently even last year. You look at the numbers, a 55% hit rate on this under last year for Randy Arozarena, 85 out of 154 games. He cashed the under, averaging 1.67 hits, runs, RBIs per game last season. And from a head-to-head perspective against the Detroit Tigers, 5 of his last 9 matchups with Detroit, he's cashed this under. It's a 56% hit rate, averaging 1.22 hits, runs, RBIs per game across those last 9 matchups. Now, he has had a couple big games there. You see back last year in April and then in early August, he had a couple of successful games. So he can hit the over versus this team. But he has cashed the under in 3 consecutive games against the Detroit Tigers. Again, the majority of the time when playing them over the last 9 games, he has cashed the under. Look at the numbers last year for Randy Arozarena versus right-handed starters. 61% hit rate on the under, 67 out of 109 games facing off with right-handed pitchers. He cashed the under, averaging 1.42 hits, runs, RBIs per game. So some pretty good numbers there for our under bet here. Scrolling down below, now we don't have the numbers here for Jackson Jobe. Although I can tell you there's not really much to go off of. He only pitched a grand total of 4 innings last year for the Tigers. So, not a lot to go off of there. Very small sample size for him. Again, like I talked about the last player prop, he's a green pitcher. This could spell bad for us when we're betting an under bet, or it could spell good for us when betting an under bet if, he's a little bit of an unknown. So that's kind of a wild card throw in there. That being said, Randy Arozarena overall last year, 219 batting average against right-handed pitchers, just a 214 batting average. So he's actually a little bit worse versus right-handed pitchers than he is left-handed pitchers with a 105.1 WRC plus, which is a drop from his overall number of 114.1 WRC plus. He's been cashing it pretty consistently this season so far, and head-to-head numbers look pretty good. Again, they're a little bit risky with an inexperienced pitcher, but I still like the matchup overall for this under for Randy Arozarena, which he did cash last year at a 55% hit rate. So that's our third and final player prop in today's slate. Guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I'll be back tomorrow with another MLB player prop video, but until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Let's have a better week this week than we had last week. Can't get a lot. Oh, I don't want to say that. Could get worse. But let's hope it doesn't get that way. We got some solid player props today, some solid value in those player props today. Let's go ahead and bounce back in a big way and get the ship turned around. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, hope you're all winners. Let's go ahead and make some money. We need a cash here. Let's go.